spiritual capacity to expand and expand and expand. And your love has an infinite spiritual capacity, and you are contributing to the universe, and you are contributing to living beings. So don't shortchange yourself, because you'll be shortchanging the whole universe. We do have an impact, and then of course our vows now. When a person becomes a realized Buddha, they even have more power. There's the power, for example, of Buddha Amitabha, who made vows when he was a Bodhisattva, before he was a Buddha, that anyone who placed their faith in him or recited his name, made a connection, could go to his pure land to practice until Buddhahood there. That's vast, powerful intention. So that takes me a little bit to the power of intention. I'll give you a hint here. When we talk in Buddhism about prayer, which is called in Tibetan Monlam, or road for the mind, or adhisthana in Sanskrit, which is the intention. We base our intention on the virtue we have accumulated, on acts of truth. That's one way to see it, an act of truth, like sitting in meditation, making an offering. Any of these things have power, and then that power is dedicated to this wish. And the wishes for a Buddhist, of course, are in relation to the liberation of all sentient beings, our own too. Now, when you pray, the many prayers that you pray for well-being, for health, don't shortchange yourself, please. I know we speak a lot of spirituality, of being selfless and so on, and this is true, but in that selflessness, you are a sentient being. You are one of the sentient beings. You're, in fact, the most important sentient being to you. You're the center of the world, not in an egocentric way. It's just a perspective. You're looking through your eyes. It's centered. The universe is centered. The mandala of the universe is centered around your body. Body is the center, and of course within that, mind, pure mind. So whenever you pray, whenever you wish, include yourself in those wishes. The idea is that if you practice as a bodhisattva, you practice the transcendental virtues, generosity, compassion, wisdom, your life should improve. I mean, we know that, we hit bumps in the road, karma from often previous lives ripens and hits us hard. But better now than, later after death. Be purified, and at the same time your life should improve. You should look for, better health, better food, better wealth, maybe not becoming rich or anything, but all these things being sufficient. In my life, for example, I live very simply. I'm not rich by any Western standard, and yet, subjectively, where I live, my life is complete. There's food, health care, roof over the head, bills are covered, and all this without any real effort. And I regard this partly, and I have been through some difficult periods in my life, so I regard this partly as the ripening. As the negative karma gets purified, the virtue begins to ripen. So again, when you pray, certainly include yourself in these prayers. There's nothing that will keep you from practicing and being a bodhisattva if your life is comfortable and your needs are, your material, basic physical needs are met. Now, if you throw a big plasma TV in there or a Rolls Royce in your prayers, now that's a little different, that's a little bit of greed perhaps, simply the basics, but most important of all is really our heart, our attitude, and that there's happiness in the heart, and that's, everything else is sort of secondary in a big way. Now I'll mention one last thing I mentioned about pranidhana again, because, be careful of what you wish, because you will get it, kind of idea. And, we hear a lot of programs where people, visualize a list of things they want, and we heard about the law of attraction. We, visualize a lot of money, and we'll get a lot of money. We'll visualize a big boat, and we'll get a big boat. Well, the thing is, the mind is such that if you are well concentrated, and your mind is relatively calm, and most of all, if you lead a relatively decent life, as a decent human being, not stealing or killing or torturing, any of these major things, the movement of the mind in concentration and repetition will bring about these things, but then to what good? Again, we talked about, the Bodhisattva motivation being the saving of all other beings, and this is sort of like the most pure, materialistic motivation you can think of, these visualization programs. So be careful about that. Instead, we have in Buddhism certain prayers that are designed to basically provide the wishes for a complete conditions for enlightenment. Most importantly comes to mind is the Samantabhadra Pranidhana, the wishes of Samantabhadra. The Bodhisattva Samantabhadra again made this complete Pranidhana. It's called the King of Prayers. And you can read this. It takes about 20 minutes to read. And it's the most complete prayer, the one that will bring all the factors for enlightenment all in one prayer. Another important prayer is the lineage prayer of Mahamudra, Mahamudra Pranidhana, also important. You can read every day or several times a day or several times for an hour. And again, it's a practice in itself, and it provides you with the right kind of wishes, so you're not floundering, saying, well, wishing this, wishing that, peace for the world, and okay, and that's part of the prayer, but there's very specific things that you might not think of. When you die, you go to the Pure Land of practice, things like that. Emulating the qualities of other Buddhas and so on. So these prayers I just mentioned too, Mahamudra Pranidhana and Samantabhadra Pranidhana, are very complete and a practice in itself to take these texts and read them at least once a day, or set aside 30 minutes, set aside an hour, and read them for as long as you have time. Don't leave a prayer unread. Once you start one, at least finish that one. So that's a catch there. If you want to do a half hour, you might give yourself 20 minutes. If you want to do an hour, give yourself maybe 45 minutes. So you have a cushion of time there. And if you have more time, great, wonderful, you do more. But again, don't cheat yourself, don't shortchange yourself. Lama Shenpen Hupham teaches us this very well. I'll leave you with that thought. The last thing, one of the things she said is that it is valuable to try to imagine the qualities of the Buddhas, try to imagine how a Buddha lived, reading these sutras like Avatamsaka, Vimalakirti Niyudesa Sutra, the Lotus Sutra, and try to visualize, trying to think how these things would be, put yourself in the place of someone who was there witnessing all these wonders, and suspend judgment for a moment, and let your heart, let your intuition just sort of soak in the spirit of these sutras, because they're very expansive, and they take you to a magical world that may not be magical, but it may be simply a different version of what is, that we might close off to saying, no, it's all myth, it's all legend. Certainly it's in a poetic expression, but Dharma is much better expressed really in poetry, in art, than in logic. Even though the Madhyamika uses devastating logic to show the sort of openness and impermanence of all things that we experience with the senses, but again, it's a negative kind of destructive exercise. And for otherwise, I say really poetry, song, and art are really vehicles that speak much more to our heart, to our intuition, our imagination. So we need not be afraid to think about the Buddhas, to think about these sutras, and use their imagination that way, as long as we don't grab onto these concepts rigidly and in an ideological way. Well, I hope this is sort of inspire you, kind of opened up